This spring, the Boston Pops showcases the music of Hollywood for its 128th season. And as always, it brings a host of headliners to its Symphony Hall stage. The most recent is Matthew Morrison, star of the hit show GLEE. But as he told Jared Bowen after rehearsal yesterday, he likes his songs a little more aged.
Yeah, the standards are kind of my go-to.
She gets too hungry for dinner at 8. She adores the theater but never comes late.
Forget being a television star or a Broadway leading man. At the moment, Matthew Morrison is eager to be an entertainer, a vintage song and dance. It's a genetic predisposition, he says.
Won't go to Coney, Malibu is fine.
I had a great 10-year career on Broadway before I even did GLEE, so that's where my love of music came from. Well, my love of music came before that with my mom. She listened to standards and stuff.
The star of the hit television show GLEE performs with the Boston Pops this week in advance of a new album and PBS special. As we saw in rehearsal at Symphony Hall, the show is a playlist of standards that are anything but.
I'm gonna love you like nobody's loved you. Come rain or come shine.
This kind of music, you really have to put your own stamp on it. The classic bones of these songs are always there, and I feel like every artist comes in and kind of drapes their own tapestry around these bones of these songs.
That's why the lady is unfair.
Messed a little bit with the tempos. My show is kind of dance heavy, so I wanted to make things a little brighter and a little more crisp so that I can dance.
On stage, Morrison says he approaches concerts as a series of roles, each song a singular experience.
These are songs where you're not just getting up on stage and singing a song. As an actor, I get to act these songs, and that adds a whole different level, and I feel like the audience really kind of gets to climb into the song, and you want that experience with the audience.
Morrison was made famous for his role as earnest singing teacher Mr. Schuster on GLEE.
All my instincts, they return.
A program that, while heavy on the top 40 and pop, has also brought a lot of Broadway and classics back to the mainstream.
Well, it's great because on the show I've gotten to perform some great classic show tunes, songs specifically written for the theater. And I've gotten to sing those songs on global television. And hopefully, those songs have opened up this kind of music to a new generation, to a new audience.
And all from a star whose compulsion is to keep it center stage.
Be a lady tonight.
And Jared Bowen is here. The strange thing about this is that it's such a generational thing, that kind of song and dance man. And you don't think of Matthew Morrison as being somebody who would adapt to that.
Well, you just had me thinking, because right before we started taping, you were saying you don't appreciate this music as much, but I think it's because of your generation.
Yeah,
weren't you? You just followed this music, didn't you? And I'm more closer to his age, and so it's a couple generations removed. So for the same reasons, I really appreciate shows like Mad Men, which take us to a different era.
My parents listened to this.
Exactly. So you were rebelling because you're a child of the 60s, and you're Emily Rooney. You were rebelling, and I'm decades away. So I love this music because I love the vintage feel, and I appreciate it. And I'm somebody who likes ballads a little bit more anyway, and stories, which is what he says he loves about this music, the ability to tell a story both just by communicating the lyrics and sort of dropping yourself into the song.
So how does he just kind of parachute into the Boston Pops? I mean, how many rehearsals do they do? And they must all have the scores in advance, so they're playing the music without him before he gets here.
Yeah, well, of course, he's just done this album and he has this PBS special, so the arrangements are done. But I think this is what separates him, is that he is a Broadway star, and he was in big shows, Hairspray, and he was the leading man in South Pacific, a really acclaimed Lincoln Center production. So this is a man who is used to an audience, who's used to an orchestra, does have a relationship with Keith Lockhart and the Pops, and so he can just drop into a situation like this and be completely professional and own the stage like he did yesterday. He's really quite remarkable.
And Can you really see the GLEE part of this? Can you see the GLEE?
I think you can, because I've been covering the arts since GLEE came up into the fore, and I think that music schools will tell you, and if you talk to younger people, they'll tell you that they do have an appreciation. Yes, it's probably front-loaded with all the top 40 and pop music, but I think they do enough, especially through Matthew Morrison's songs, they do enough to bring up some of the old vintage Broadway songs and classics that it reintroduces those to a whole new generation that can actually sit there and appreciate that music for its own sake and not just something that's synthesized.
You know, you got to hand it to the Boston Pops, the symphony, all of them, for doing things that are interesting. I saw actually Vince Gill a few weeks ago with the Boston Pops. So who else is coming up? Well,
and I have to tell you, I saw Megan Hilty there last Friday night. It was one of the best pop shows I have ever seen. First of all, the energy in the hall was so amazing. So you have this great Broadway star with this tremendous voice, and they also had a concerto of Bond music that they put together. And so the energy was there. They remain so inventive. This season is about celebrating Hollywood, so they have a first ever Pixar concert coming up in the next couple of weeks, where it's all the songs from all the animated Pixar movies. They have John Williams, of course, coming back to conduct for several nights in about a week, and he'll do all his old Hollywood music. And then this weekend, it's all the music of Mad Men. So not so much Hollywood, but yeah.
All right, what's up tomorrow on Caught in the Act?
Tomorrow we're reviewing 3 shows. This is the big end of the season for theaters. We'll do Pirates of Penzance, Rapture, Blister Burn, and the classic On the Town. I'll have reviews of all of them.
All right, have that tomorrow. All right, Jared Bowen, thank you. Right, and that is it for Greater Boston. On tomorrow's show, the debate over the Copley Square Memorial to bombing victims. When is it time to take it down? Who will make that decision? And where should a permanent memorial be built? We'll have that and more tomorrow on Greater Boston. I'm Emily Rooney. Thanks for watching.